Hi, I'm Rick Kahler. Thanks for joining me. Stress is what happens when something you really care about is at stake. This definition comes from Susan Bradley, who's a CFP and author of Sudden Money. She's also a specialist in the financial aspect of life transitions. The stress around these transitions is a common reason that people seek out financial advice. We tend to be driven to consult advisors as a result of stressful changes in our life, such as a divorce, sudden money event like an inheritance or an insurance settlement, an investment or job loss, retirement, or the death of a loved one. While all of these life events certainly have financial components, it's almost always the emotional components of the change, which is how we respond to them, that are the real cause of the stress. Any change includes 3 stages: an ending, a period of passage while we relate and adapt to the change, and a new beginning. This period of transition can be fraught with emotion and behaviors that can really trip us up in a lot of ways, one of which is financially. Susan identifies 9 of these emotions that she commonly sees in people in transition. The first is a lack of identity. If the transition results in the loss of a familiar role, like being a spouse or being an employee, you might struggle with, who am I now? She says there's often confusion and ambivalence about the future and an inability to make decisions. The second is confusion, overwhelm, being in a fog. There's really a sense of defeat by everything. You may physically slump, have a glazed over look, ask other people to repeat a lot. It's hard to understand things, to really be present, to respond, to focus, and to move forward. The third is hopelessness. Here you may have a sense of just having given up and not being in control of your fate or being a victim. It may seem that there's nothing you can do to change yourself or the outcome. In this state, financial decision making is really difficult. The fourth is invincibility. Now, this can happen with a big positive change in your finances. Not all transitions are negative changes in your finance. You may think everything is going to turn out just fine. There could be feelings of being euphoric, confident, being smarter than my advisors. And in this state, a person can end up spending more and taking greater investment risks that turn around to really hurt them. Fifth is mental and physical fatigue. A transition can just be exhausting. And the exhaustion can go undetected by others and even yourself. You might have difficulty following an agenda and doing tasks. 6 is just a numbness, withdrawing. You may feel ambivalent and indifferent to exploring the changes in your life, what you want or what the future may hold. You don't give much feedback. You're withdrawn, isolated, not expressive. You may miss or not return phone calls or emails. And here the planning process in financial decision making often comes to a complete standstill. 7th is narrow or fractured focus. Here you either may be preoccupied with one area that excludes everything else, just blinders, or have an inability to focus on anything. In either case, focusing on what's important becomes difficult or just impossible. Number 8 is an inconsistent behavior. This is the inability to hold one position. Instead, you may change your mind repeatedly or switch between opposite positions. You're uncertain. You often embrace opposites in your wants and desires in the same breath, in the same sentence. Making decisions, again, becomes impossible. And finally, combative. You might hold on to feelings of anger and resentment, being a victim and rage, regardless of the facts. You're outwardly, emotionally expressive and challenging of those around you. You don't respond well to logic, practicality, or any type of balance. A combative person doesn't have problems making decisions, but does have difficulty making good decisions that are in their best interests. Emotions and behaviors like these are generally temporary. Financial decisions made in the midst of transition-based stress, they can have lasting negative consequences. The support of trustworthy advisors and friends can be invaluable in navigating through both painful and joyful life changes. Thanks for joining me.